Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the flight sim world. This is Viperstrike 95. I hope you're all doing well. And today we are here with part 15 of our journey, guys. I hope you're all doing well. And yes, we're gonna finally make our way over to South America today. That's right, we're making our way to our first ever South American country of Venezuela. Ooh, should be a very exciting trip. And I hope you guys have had a great weekend. I mean, I hope you all had a great weekend as well, being a Sunday. So before we got started, we'll go over our flight plan today. So our flight plan will be taking us over from Port of Spain in the capital of Trinidad and Tobago. And for this one, we're actually going to make our way over to Maracaibo today. So we're going to fly over from Port of Spain, make our way across to here, and then we'll be flying all through this way across the Venezuelan coast. We'll be checking out some of the stuff, and then make a landing here at Maracaibo, Sierra Victor Mike Charlie. So that's what's going to be happening today. On here, it's a pretty simple flight plan. If you want to look at the flight plan fully, just do !route. Now in this case, we'll be flying more of the airliners. For the next couple, for not next stream, but for a couple streams, we'll be flying more of the airliners, and that's because, well, we're getting to some really big countries now. We're not like going to the Caribbean, where a lot of countries are kind of small. We're going to be going to some big places like Venezuela, especially when we get to Brazil. Especially will be Brazil, which is, if you know anything about Brazil, it's a massive country. So I hope everyone's doing well here today, as always. So before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. We have Devil Dude, good to see you. No issues, Devil Dude. So I had to go to the restroom, and I guess I took a little longer than I was expecting. So I had to take a bob break. It went longer than I expected, so there was no issues. It was just I was in the restroom. I forgot to get there quickly. So no issues there. We also have Super Typhon lurking in the chat. Good to see you. And all the lurkers, great to have you here as well. So the plane we're doing here today, we are taking the Boeing BBJ. Yes, it's the 737, but this is the Boeing business jet we're taking here today. I wanted to take the old business jet out for a bit, because I thought it would be a good time we take out the BBJ. Something I haven't really flown much at all during my time in the sim. I've flown the 737 cargo variant a lot, and the passenger stuff a lot, but I never really flown the BBJ version. But basically, the Boeing BBJ, the Boeing business jet, is basically when you take a 737 NG. It was the basis of the 737-700, and the most popular variant of the Boeing business jet. So basically, the Boeing business jet variants, the BBJ, the original Boeing business jet can carry 19 passengers. It crew 2. It can carry, but this one has way more range than the normal 737 NG. Compared for this 777, for example, the 737-700, which is what this BBJ is based off of, the 737-700 can carry 140 people. This only carries 19. And the range of this thing, 3,000 for the normal 700. This thing, 5,600 nautical miles, which is pretty insane, all things considered. And this thing can go 41,000 feet. Now, another difference between is definitely the interior. It's definitely way more. It's way nicer in the interior. It's got nice tables and chairs instead of the TVs. It's got restrooms. It's got all sorts of stuff. So it's way, way nicer interior. I think if you enter in here, you can see that here in our 737. You can see what it looks like. How cool is that? You got your TV and stuff. You got your look at this. You got full on shower. You got your lunch counters. You got your meeting room boards. And you got extra seats. So, but yeah, basically that is our BBJ today. Yeah, this would be the perfect little business jet plane we're going to be taking today. I didn't want to take a normal 737-700 since I've flown that a lot. So I think taking the BBJ would be kind of a nice change of pace a little bit. So let's go ahead and get our 737 started. Let's go ahead and get our 737s started. Set. So. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the GPU. Ground power on. Okay. Lights, IR system. Nav. Test complete. Ventilation valve is open. Yaw damper is on. So let's go ahead and get this 737 started. So this is the business jet variant. Boom. Route Tango 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 Papa Papa. Runway 110. And Maracaibo's ICAO is Sierra Victor Mike Charlie. Go. There's the FMC. We're going to go ahead and do FS actions. Payload, we're going to carry 26 guests. And the cargo, the cargo would be 1,300 pounds, so it'd be 600. It'd be 650 each. So this flight would take us 1 hour and 46 minutes. So this would be pretty good flight, time. And flaps. I'm gonna go 032. Then we're gonna go 110. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Alright, guys. Got the 737 start. Nice. So this flight, by the way, according to SimBrief, this flight should take us 1 hour and 46-minute flight. So, about 2 hour flight, almost 2 hours. So this will give us plenty enough time for a 2 hour trip. So by the way, guys, if you want to join along us, we're in the Southeast Asia server. We're taking the 737. If you got like another airliner, you can take that, or take a business jet, or even a fighter plane with us for this one. We're going to be checking out the scenery up there, 40,000 feet. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. And just here's out D in the 737. Nice. So let's go ahead and put toga. Look at this. This little 737 busy jet. Look at this. It's like a rocket ship. I'm actually serious. We're already off. Holy moly, she's gonna climb. And we got takeoff, guys. Holy moly. Hey, you gonna see him on though? Issue reaching server? Oh, good to see him, Mungo. Yeah, issue reaching server. Weird. That's weird. Very, very weird. Good to see him, Mungo. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, take off at about 10 degrees though. Pretty steep takeoff. I guess you may have to leave out the server and do it again. But yeah, good to see Super Tom as well. Good to see you guys here. Weird. I guess it's more with Twitch's side of things. My stream is running pretty good. So we're gonna climb up to 40,000 feet today in our PBJ. So for today, we'll be talking about Venezuela a bit, but I'm going to talk more once we climb up to nearly 40,000 feet. We'll start talking a bit about Venezuela, but we're not going to talk about all of it today, since I'm going to save the rest of it for next Friday's flight from Maracaibo over to Caracas. We're going to be doing some general aviation stuff to these airports. So I thought I'm going to save the rest of it to then. And then you go to my channel page. Oh. Not with my panels. I checked my And here he is, guys. As we depart, the last Caribbean country we'll be departing, Trinidad and Tobago. Our last Caribbean country as we say goodbye to the Caribbean for the last time on this journey. In front of us, it is going to be Venezuela. We finally reached our way to Venezuela because, well, that's literally right in front of us. Is Venezuela. Yeah. Okay, cool. You just missed the air. Nice. Well, guys, some pretty cool stuff going on in the Fight Sim community for next week. On Monday, Two-Toe Murphy in his Fireflies, give him a shout out if you don't mind, Typhon. But Two-Toe Murphy's going to do a new series tomorrow, his IFR ATC course, which is going to be really interesting as well. So do check it out. That's going to come on Monday. Should be very, very exciting. But all you IFR pilots, so it should be pretty cool. Thank you so much for giving him a shout out. He'd have appreciated if he was here. So we're gonna make our way over to 40,000 feet here in Venezuela. So once we get 40,000 feet, we'll start talking a little bit about Venezuela. I won't be trying to get it too long since, well, we have a whole other stream to get over. So yeah, I want to ask you guys. I hope you guys had a great weekend so far. For me, my weekend was pretty chill. Um, I just did a lot of Firefly Air stuff. I've been doing lots of Firefly flights over the past 2 days. So, um, and I'm now since on the leaderboard, I've now catched up with Sean in the leaderboard. I mean, I actually just surpassed him. I guess he's probably already retained the lead again. I mean, yeah, I've actually caught up to him. Actually, I'm now 4,000 points ahead of Sean. I'm gonna have to do more tonight. Gotta do a new achievement and then gotta work on more of it. Yeah, I'm gonna try to build as much of a lead as I can before my Alaska trip in 6 weeks. I'm trying to build up a lead beforehand. But yeah, there's a new achievement for Firefly Air if you guys want to check that out. Here's the command for it, Foxtrot Alpha. So we did get a brand new achievement out. 6 Knots released this one. It's a brand new achievement he's worked on for our virtual airline, titled Freeware Showcase the Ruet Hofen Airport in Austria, which would be a beautiful airport, great for general aviation. Be a great little airport. I'll definitely do that after the stream, of course. Hey, good to see you there, Roby. Good to see you. Nice achievement for work evenings. It is. It's a nice little achievement, and it's in Austria, which is absolutely beautiful. If you guys never flew around Austria in the Alps, absolutely stunning. Definitely worth flying into in the sim. We'll definitely make a visit there during our around the world trip. So good to see you, Roby. Yeah, the scenery you did. We got to see your scenery last Wednesday, Roby, and my goodness, that was absolutely amazing looking scenery, my dude. Seriously, you should be proud of yourself. Not often we get a scenery with that much detail for a good price. I definitely need to show it off for sure. So at some point. So I want to give you a bit of a knowledge for what we're doing next week. So I think next week's schedule is going to be, I'll post it on later tonight. But Wednesday stream will be checking out our brand new Middle East hub for Firefly Air, as we'll be flying over from Dubai over to Tehran International in it's Oscar India Echo. Then on Friday we're gonna do the G part of Venezuela. We'll be flying from Maracaibo over to Caracas via Barquisimeto in Valencia. And then next Sunday we'll be heading to Guyana. I actually will readjust the thing I released back with the all countries thing and add another stop into Guyana City, Venezuela. So add an additional stop into Venezuela to make things a little more interesting. That's what we're going to be doing for the next couple weeks. So technically, we actually entered into Hermanos VA country, like literally, because if you guys aren't aware of him, he used to be formerly known as Arctic Turn. He has done plenty of streams in flying around Venezuela. Um, and he always does things for a good cause. So we're flying into Venezuela, which would be pretty interesting to fly around for sure. Yeah, there you go. Hermanos BA. Thank you, Typhon. But this is the country he flies over a lot is Venezuela. Yeah, to our west, if you look at here, this is the coastal mountain range here in Venezuela. I guess we're getting pretty close to 40,000 feet, so I want to talk a little bit about Venezuela. So this is part two of our journey for our around the world trip, and we have now made it to South America. Our first South American country we're going to be visiting today is Venezuela. Venezuela, officially known as the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, is a country on the northern coast of South America, consists of a continental landmass and many islands and islets in the Caribbean Sea. Venezuela comprises of an area of 916,445 square kilometers, and its population is estimated to be 29 million people in 2022. The capital largest urban area is the city of Caracas. It's currently bordered in the north by the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, the west by Colombia, Brazil to the south, Trinidad and Tobago to the northeast, and the east by Guyana. It's currently a presidential republic consisting of 23 states, the capital district, and federal dependencies. The vast majority of people live in the states in the north and in the capital. So we all know Venezuela was colonized by the Spain. However, the past 30 or 40 years of Venezuela has often been very turbulent over the past 30 and 40 years. I mean, with coups, presidential crisis, the Bolivarian Revolution with Hugo Chavez and all that, and then his successor Maduro. Currently, Venezuela is a developing country, but it has the world's largest known oil reserves and has been one of the world's leading exporters of oil. Previously, it was an underdeveloped exporter of agriculture commodities, but oil quickly came to dominate exports and government revenues, and the excesses and poor policies have led to their entire economy not doing so well, with hyperinflation, shortages, disease, poverty, malnutrition, and corruption, leading to one of the most massive refugee crises in the Americas, where over 7 million have fled the country as well. So definitely very, very interesting as well to learn about. So if you want to learn how we got to there in the first place and how Venezuela is not doing so well, let's look at its history for a bit. Let's learn a little bit about Venezuela's history. Before the Europeans arrived, there's been evidence to suggest that humans have inhabited here since 15,000 years ago. They found sites and artifacts from 13,000 to 7,000 BC, but there were lots of indigenous groups that might have lived in here, including the Caribs, the Ayawaki, Caquito, Marish, and Timiano Cuicas were some of the native groups that lived here in South America. The most advanced and complex was the Timiano Cuica culture, with pre-planned permanent villages surrounded by terraced irrigated fields, with houses made of stone and thatched roofs, and they were relatively peaceful for the most part. Growing crops like potatoes and ulicos, which is basically like a root vegetable. And they were even credited for one of the staples of Venezuelan cuisine, the arepa, which is basically ground maize dough stuffed with a filling. And eaten in northern parts of South America since pre-Columbian times. But the first European to make his way over to Venezuela was Christopher Columbus when he sailed near the Orinoco Delta and landed in the Gulf of Paria. Amazed by the great offshore current of fresh water to find his course eastward, he expressed a letter to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand that he must have reached heaven on earth. He said, "The great signs of the terrestrial paradise, for I have never read anything such a large quantity of water." He considered call it paradise. The Spanish then, 30 years later, in 1522, established the first permanent settlement in South America in the present city of Cumana, which is located in the Venezuelan coast. Now, what was funny was Venezuela was also taken over by the Germans. But what? What do you mean the Germans actually had a colony in Venezuela? Yeah, well, it's actually true. You see, in the 16th century, the King of Spain gave the concession to the German Welser family, which are basically merchants, and it became the most extensive initiative for the German colonization of the Americas between 1528 to 1546. And the Germans helped explore the interior and all that, and also doing it. However, um, however, then the Germans were eventually had to give it up to the Spaniards again. So yeah, pretty cool stuff that the fact that Germans actually did have a colony in the Americas. But Germany wasn't unified until 1871. But it was part of the Holy Roman Empire, and they were basically part of it. But yeah. Hey, Vulcan 350, good to see you, Vulcan. It has been a long while since I've last seen you. I hope you're doing well, Vulcan. We're doing our around the world trip. We started this back in New Year's Eve, in 2023. From my home airport, we are making our way over to all of the sovereign countries in the world. We just completed part one on Friday. We explored the Caribbean, including the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados, Grenada, and then Trinidad and Tobago. And now we're getting started with South America, which should definitely take a little bit of a while to get there. Yeah, I hope you're doing well, Logan. So, afterwards, eventually the native leaders, such as Guaycapuro and Tamanaco, attempted to resist the Spanish invasion, but eventually the Spanish subdued them. And during the 16th century, indigenous peoples, including the Marichis, were converted into Catholicism. Some of the resisting tribe leaders were commemorated in their place names like Caracas and Las Tiques. Mainly, a lot of the early colonial settlements focused on the northern coast, but during the mid 18th century, the Spanish pushed further inland along the Orinoco River. And eventually, its eastern Venezuelan settlements were eventually incorporated into the province of New Andalusia, and administered by the Royal Inicia Santo Domingo, the courts, which was the first one. Most of it became part of the Viceroyalty of New Granada in the early 18th century, and it became as a reorganized area. However, that wouldn't last long, as there was actually some uprisings, and after a series of events, Venezuela, under the leadership of Francisco de Miranda, a Venezuelan marshal who actually fought in the American and French Revolution, helped it declare independence as the first Republic of Venezuela in 1811, and it began the War of Venezuelan Independence, um, which went on for 13 years, mind you. This independence came 13 years later. Um, now, the First Republic was taken down by an earthquake and a rebellion of the herders. Brought down the First Republic. However, then came the most important new figure of Venezuela, Simon Bolivar. He became the new leader of independence forces and launched a new campaign called the Admirable Campaign in 1813 to retake most of the territories, and being proclaimed as El Libertador, or the Liberator, creating the new Second Venezuelan Republic. But eventually, it was only crushed after a few months by royalists. Though afterwards, in 1850, they started Then they decided to make a new Venezuelan republic, the third one, and that is what Venezuela happened today. And eventually, it took all the way to 1823 with the Battle of Carabobo in 1821, and on July 24th, 1823, Venezuela finally got full independence with their battle at Lake Maracaibo, allowing the independence of Gran Colombia. And it resulted in the dismemberment of the Spanish Empire. So that led to Venezuela's independence from the Spanish. Um, Afterwards, Sucre, who was one of the general and leaders during this time, went on to liberate the rest of Ecuador and became the second president of Bolivia. Venezuela remained a part of Gran Colombia until 1830, when a rebellion led by Jose Antonio Perez Hura secured its independence of an independent Venezuela on September 22nd, 1830, and he became the first president of the new state of Venezuela. Now, Joe, these wars were very costly, as between a quarter and a third of Venezuela's population was lost during these 2 decades of warfare, which are around 800,000 people. In 1854, slavery was abolished in Venezuela, and one of the more important factors of Venezuela's politics was that during much of the 19th century, Venezuela's history was characterized by a lot of political turmoil and dictatorial rule, including independence leader Jose Paez himself, who gained the presidency 3 times and served 11 years, which culminated in another 5-year war between the different political parties. And then another one, Antonio Blanco, served another 13 years in 1870 and 1887. But basically, there was definitely a lot of political turmoil during the early 19th century in Venezuela. So, definitely something to keep in importance. But one thing that is pretty important was in 1895. Now, if you guys know in the news about Venezuela and Guyana's dispute, if you guys know the border dispute that's going on in the news, hearing about their crisis, well, you want to know the origins of that? Well, I'm here to talk about that. You see, in 1895, there was a long-standing dispute between Great Britain over about the territory of Essequibo territory, which Britain claimed to be part of British Guiana, while the Venezuelans saw it as a Venezuelan territory, and erupted into the Venezuelan crisis of 1895, and became a diplomatic crisis when Venezuela's lobbyist William L. Scruggs sought to argue that British behavior over the issue violated the Monroe Doctrine. Ultimately, Britain ultimately accepted arbitration, but in negotiations was able to persuade the U.S. on many details, and ultimately, with the tribunal in 1898, in 1999, awarded the bulk of the disputed territory to British Guiana. However, this absolutely angered the Venezuelans, of course. And it led to the crisis that lasted until December 14th, when so. Now, of course, afterwards, one of the more interesting things that happened, then afterwards, the Venezuela also had lots of debt, thanks to the president of the time, Jose Ruiz, Cipriano Castro. He defaulted on many of its debts and refused to pay compensation, and this led to another crisis in Venezuela, which the British, German, and Italy opposed naval blockade until arbitration was agreed. And then there was another dispute as well with the Venezuelan, the Dutch, and Curacao. During the 20th century, there was one huge event that did happen during this event, and that was oil deposits. It turns out that during World War One, they actually discovered massive oil deposits in Lake Maracaibo, which proved to be pivotal for Venezuela and transformed its economy from agriculture to petroleum, and prompted an economic boom that lasted into the 1980s. However, the negative thing about all that oil was that corruption thrived as well. There was a lot of corruption that happened during it too. After World War II, immigration from Southern Europe, mainly from Spain, Italy, Portugal, and France, diversified Venezuelan society. But then during that time, there was between military coups. There were quite a few military coups during the early 40s and 50s. Then with the Democratic presidencies of Romulo Betancourt during the 1959-1964 and Raul Leone, there was lots of guerrilla movements that happened during the 60s, including the Armed Forces National Liberation and the Revolutionary Left movements that were communists. However, most of them laid down their arms with Rafael Caldera's presidency. During his presidency for left-wing movements. And then in 1973, Carlos Andres Perez was elected, and it coincided with the oil crisis, which income for Venezuela exploded thanks to the higher oil prices, which led to massive public spending increases, but also increased union debts, and then it crippled the Venezuelan economy once the 1980s rolled around. With lower living standards as well as failed economic policies, it led to greater instability. And during those 80s and 90s, there was a lot of political crisis with riots that killed hundreds of people. And eventually, though, a major event happened during the 1990s, and eventually led over to the Bolivarian Revolution in 1999. With Hugo Chavez being elected president in 1998 and launch of a new revolution with a brand new constitution of Venezuela. Basically, the Bolivarian Revolution was a left-wing populist social movement, which seeks to build a mass movement to implement Bolivarianism, which basically is Pan-Hispanic social and national patriotic ideals with popular democracy, economic independence, equal distribution of revenues, and into political corruption. However, with Chavez's rule, his actions, however, unfortunately, almost made things even worse. As he introduced currency controls and more, and under his government, Venezuela became from one of the richest countries in Latin America to one of the poorest. And that's because Hugo Chavez relied on oil sales and importing goods, which resulted in large amount of debt. There was no change to corruption, and it culminated into the crisis of Venezuela. And as a result of that crisis, over 7 million Venezuelans, which is about 20% of the country's population, actually left the country. What? And after Chavez's death, Nicolas Maduro was elected to replace him, as he picked him as his successor. And since Maduro's been elected president in 2013, Venezuelans have protested over high levels of violence, corruption, hyperinflation, chronic scarcity of basic goods, and more, and has led to all sorts of issues. I mean, those shortages are quite bad. They include that of milk, flour, and other necessities, and more. And then in 2016, there was a constitutional crisis as Maduro overturned most of the National Assembly decisions and transformed more into a dictatorship. As well. So yeah, Venezuela has had a lot of problems the past, ever since the Bolivarian government. It's been had a lot of issues, but especially more so with the Bolivarian government of Hugo Chavez and then later his successor Maduro. guys, this is the history of Venezuela. Definitely a very turbulent one for sure. But I hope you guys learned something about it. Let's see how we're doing in here. We have Alec D with us. We have Carl Marr. Yeah, we're doing well. We're just about, according to this, we're about 386 nautical miles away to our next stop here in Maracaibo. Definitely very, very interesting for sure. So we're not too far from the capital city of Venezuela. We'll be flying over it. We'll be back to visiting there on next Friday, so we'll be checking that out. So definitely very important to see here for sure. So yeah, I want to ask you guys this question. Um, yeah, I have many exciting plans for the next couple of weeks of streams for sure. So we'll be back on that as well. So pretty cool stuff. Yeah, this here's the northern coastal mountain range here in Venezuela. This is where the vast majority of Venezuela's people live around this area. Definitely a beautiful trip as well. So, um, so yeah, I want to ask you guys another question too. After next Wednesday, if you guys have any more stuff you want me to check out, any new places that I'm flown yet for my Wednesday streams, do let me know. Because I would be very interested in see what you guys end up choosing for Wednesday. Absolutely beautiful here. Look at the scenery here, guys. It's always beautiful here. So around this area here is Caracas. Around is the Caracas area. That is Venezuela's most populous city and capital. Also, fun fact, down over here is actually Venezuela's main airport, Simon Bolivar Airport, Sierra Victor Mike, India. Here's Caracas for you. Absolutely beautiful area here. Absolutely stunning. Venezuela definitely has a lot of beautiful scenery to fly over. Just to show you guys off the scenery here. Absolutely gorgeous. So, let's go over the next bit of notes for this journey. Let's go over the geography of Venezuela. So, Venezuela's geography is kind of shaped like a triangle, if you know anything. But this country has almost a 2,800 mile coastline to the north, which includes numerous islands in the Caribbean and northeast borders of the Atlantic Ocean. There's four main regions of Venezuela that is often defined with the country. First is in the northwest is the Maracaibo lowlands. Those are to the northwest. Then you have the northern mountains extending to an east-west arc, the wide plains in central Venezuela, and the Guiana highlands to the southeast are the four main topographical regions of Venezuela. As well. The northern mountains are the extreme northeastern extensions of South America's Andes Mountains, and it features the country's highest point, Pico Bolivar, which is 16,335 feet. In the south is the Guiana Highlands, and it contains the northern fringes of the Amazon basin, but also including the world's tallest uninterrupted waterfall, Angel Falls, located around this area. It also features the Orinoco, which is the largest and most important river system, the Orinoco, with its rich soils as well. In terms of Venezuela's climate, Venezuela's climate is located which is located completely north of the equator to 12 degrees north. Its climate varies from humid, low elevation plains where temperatures are as high as 95 degrees to glaciers and highlands, which the year temperature is 46 degrees. There are four horizontal temperate zones based on elevation, including tropical, dry, temperate, and polar climates, among others. So, for example, the northern part of Venezuela, which is where Caracas is at, is kind of like semi-arid. But sometimes you get tropical rainforest, monsoon conditions. Sometimes you get desert conditions in the Maracaibo Highlands and more. So it's a very diverse area in the in South America for sure. However, one of the most interesting areas about Venezuela and one of the most important facts about the country has always been its biodiversity. You see, Venezuela is one of the 17 mega biodiverse countries in the planet. It has a very diverse habitat range from Andes Mountains to the Amazon Basin in the south, the Caribbean Forest in the center, and the Orinoco Delta in the east. There's all sorts of animal species that live here, including include the manatee, three-toed sloth, river dolphins, Orinoco crocodiles, ibises, ospreys, kingfishers, capybara, giant anteater, and the jaguar. All many of the mammals that live here. There's also over 25,000 species of orchids that live here in Venezuela, as well as also being a rich species of reptilian and amphibian species can be found here. However, despite being one of the most biodiverse countries, it's also leading in deforestation. So definitely something to keep an eye on while in Venezuela is definitely its natural scenery and its biodiversity. Look at this area. This is beautiful. I can't wait to explore this with our GA playing next week. Next Friday would be amazing. I can't wait. Should be an exciting flight for sure. Looks absolutely gorgeous out. Sure. Looks absolutely gorgeous. This stuff. So yeah, we're only 274 nautical miles out of Maracaibo, Venezuela. We're not very far off at all. Beautiful scenery for sure. Yeah, I do like flying the business jet. I mean, it's great to be in this little business jet, you know? So, definitely just beautiful for sure. Definitely a beautiful, beautiful day for sure. let's go ahead and talk about the next thing about Venezuela. Its government for a bit. So let's talk about its government because that's another thing that's quite unique about Venezuela. So there are two major political blocs in Venezuela. The incumbent leftist bloc Socialist Party and with its allies, and its opposition bloc, the Democratic Unity Roundtable. The president of Venezuela is elected by vote with universal suffrage, and he's both the head of state and the head of government with an office term of 6 years. However, a president may be elected unlimited number of times. Keep an eye on that. The president may ask the National Assembly to pass an enabling act, allowing granted the ability to rule by decree. The parliament is a unicameral house, and the number of members is variable. Each state and capital district elect 3 representatives each, plus the result of dividing the state population. The voting age of Venezuela is 18. The legal system is part of the continental law and tradition. The highest judicial body is the Supreme Tribunal of Justice, which managers are elected by parliament in a single 12-year term. However, the major problem with Venezuela is, well, a lot of the constitutional rights were suspended. So, because of that, that is definitely a major issue with Venezuela, has been the suspension of many of its constitutional rights. Definitely something to keep an eye on as well. Let's see top of the sin. Let's see our top. 80. Okay, 89. Come on. Just wanted to make sure I got my top of the sin. I'm gonna go ahead and set my altitude. Or we're going to be let the VNAV take care of the rest. So, next thing is going to be Venezuela's economy. So, in terms of economic stuff, Venezuela's economy um, is a market-based mixed economy dominated by mainly the petroleum sector, which accounts for roughly a third of all of Venezuela's GDP and around 80% of its exports, more than half of the government revenues. Its GDP per capita as of 2016 is 15,000, which is 109th in the world in terms of GDP per capita. And it has the least expensive petroleum in the world, and that's because the consumer price of petroleum is heavily subsidized, and a part of its economy also relies on remittances. Manufacturing contributed about 17% of its GDP, and mainly exports products like steel, aluminum, and cement is their main manufacturing exports. So, however, the major issue was its currency. It's been devalued since 2013 due to all the shortages, and they include many necessities and all that. So, Venezuela's inflation is now similar to that of Zimbabwe in Germany. However, there are some bright spots about Venezuela. Tourism, though, is a big one. It has really developed over the recent decades as tourism has been really developed since then. Mainly the big thing being its geographic position, its landscapes, plant and wildlife, the culture, and tropical climate. One of the top tourist destinations of Venezuela is Margarita Island, with its modern infrastructure bordered by great beaches, castles, fortresses, and churches of value. There's also Cananima National Park, including Angel Falls, and it's the world's sixth largest national park. And also, there's the state of Merida as well, featuring the longest and highest cable car in the world, which reaches 4,700 feet in height. So, tourism, that is a bright spot about Venezuela. Definitely has been tourism. But there have been lots of shortages. That's definitely been a thing. And that's ever since Hugo Chavez and Maduro. And it occurs in many regulated products like meat, coffee, rice, oil, flour, butter, and undergoods, even like toilet paper and even medicine. And the reason a lot of those shortages occur is because the Venezuelan government has withheld U.S. dollars for importers. And finally, with Venezuela, we have to talk about petroleum. As Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. Yep, they're not in Arabia, Middle East. They're actually in Venezuela. Um, the main deposits of petroleum are located around and beneath Lake Maracaibo in the Gulf of Venezuela in the Orinoco River. Besides large conventional oil reserves, it also has the world's second largest natural gas reserves in the Western Hemisphere. It also has non-conventional oil deposits approximately equal to the world's reserves of conventional oil. There's also lots of hydropower in the Guri Dam, which is one of the largest dams in the world. As a result, that basically wraps up. I think Venezuela's economy and stuff. I think. So we're gonna take a. Hey, good to see you, Super Tom. Arrived from Krakow to Porto. Nice. Nice. Krakow is definitely a really cool city to visit. If you ever been to Poland, I think it would be a great city to visit in real life. I mean, I would be happy to visit. And yeah, Madeira. I might do a stream in Madeira someday. I might do some flying into Madeira at some point. I probably might do it on one of my Wednesdays. Yeah, I haven't done one of those yet, but should be an awesome flight. Madeira is not a difficult airport. Oh, nice, Super Tom. You live all in Poland. That's awesome. Poland's one of the European countries in the mainland I would like to visit. I definitely want to check out Poland. Um, you live in an hour. Ah, cool. Yeah. Poland is just. I would love to visit Poland. On between the culture, there's tons of historical stuff around Poland, like Warsaw, Krakow, Gdansk, Poznań, Wrocław. I mean, there's tons of historic stuff all across the country. That's definitely worth checking out. I would like to visit. And Poland's history is just a fascinating history. Like it's very diverse history for Poland. I mean, Poland's got a rich and diverse history. It would be a very cool place to check out for me. Absolutely. And yeah, we will definitely be flying to Poland in our around the world journey. I'll definitely take some time flying around Poland. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, there's definitely quite a bit of freeware, payware. I know Drzezinski Designs has worked on Drzezinski Designs has worked on a lot of Poland stuff. Like he's worked on. I know Drzezinski and his company have worked on quite a few. I know he's worked on quite a few add-ons, but yeah, there's a lot of them. There's ones worked on. Like there's scenery from Warsaw, from photogrammetry and all that. There's tons of airports and stuff. Yeah, Poland would definitely be a great. I'm hoping one day that Poland gets a world update because I would love to see Poland get an update in the sim. I mean, it's a great. I'm surprised it didn't get a world update. I guess because of military purposes, obviously. But I mean, this year is prime for an update at some point. Yeah, yeah. He's released Warsaw landmarks. Oh yeah, that looks awesome though. His Warsaw scenery, um, yeah, looks awesome. It gives this historic city a lot of love. Warsaw is such a historic city. And fun fact about Warsaw, I think for some of those who are probably not aware of Polish history, you see, during World War II, Warsaw was like almost completely destroyed during the entire war by the Germans and Russians. It was thanks to the hard works of the Poles, of the Polish people, and they actually completely rebuilt the entire city. No joke, had rebuilt the entire city. Um, had been rebuilt mostly, has been mostly been rebuilt. They went through a lot of changes as well. Like it's pretty crazy. But yeah, Warsaw's such a fascinating city, and like I said, I hope that if Microsoft does a sim update in Poland, I think Warsaw would definitely be one of the cities with photogrammetry. It's such a cool area to fly over. Tons of excellent, tons of great airports, tons of really cool stuff. I think it'd be really, really. Okay, guys, we're now descending. We're going to descend um to here as well. If you guys want any predictions on landing, type in exclamation point predict, type in a negative number, and we'll get our lane predictions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, Super Tom. I mean, he's been doing a lot of great stuff with Poland. He's got tons of Polish airports, so but yeah, awesome stuff. So, but yeah, the place in Poland I'd like to visit. If I were to go to Poland, I mean, definitely the salt mine and the Wieliczka salt mine. Wieliczka salt mine. I think. Remember, Polish is a tricky language. I do apologize. Wieliczka. Wieliczka salt mine, which is built over 700 years. And it goes down 327 meters down. But it's a really cool area as well. And there's even a church. There's even a chapel built down there as well too. Pretty cool stuff. Um, but yeah, there's tons of that as well. There's also the seaside town of Gdansk as well. Definitely be pretty cool to check out. definitely pretty cool stuff. So the place we're going to be flying to is the city of Maracaibo, Venezuela. It's actually Venezuela's second largest city and the capital of its state of Zulia. Sadly, he didn't release yet as many sceneries for airports as he did. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Echo Papa. Yeah, this is Okichi Airport. Yeah, I would like to see him do Okichi. That's Poland's main airport in Warsaw. And I've flown in and out of this airport quite a few times. In Warsaw, very nice airport. In Warsaw, very cool. I would like to see him do one as well, and a few others. Yeah, Krakow as well could also use it too. But yeah, I would definitely like to see some updates as well. Yeah, I would like to see more of Drzezinski's airports. Like he always puts a lot of quality into his stuff. Like I have his written scenery, and that is still one of the nicest airports I've had in them. So yeah, Drzezinski makes some brilliant products. I mean, yeah, when I looked at his P3D stuff, I mean, he's done next. Okay, Bishisha. Yeah, I let him say that. It's Polish. Maba can post what you said. I actually allowed it, Typhon. It's Polish. Like I said, Polish is a weird language. If you know anything about, but this is Maracaibo. Maracaibo is Venezuela's second largest city. It's sometimes known as the first city in Venezuela, known for being the first Venezuela to adopt types of private services like electricity, as well as being near the shore of Lake Maracaibo, where the name Venezuela was actually originated. There's definitely some pretty cool areas in the city to visit. It's nicknamed the beloved land of the sun, or La Tierra de la Sol Amada. Its nickname. The city itself was founded in 1574 as Nueva Zamora de la Laguna de Maracaibo by Captain Pedro Maldonado as a transshipment plane for inland shipments after Gibraltar, the head of the lake, had been destroyed by pirates. However, the thing that changed the city was obviously when petroleum was founded in 1917, right next to the lake, of course. Oh, you posted a link. Yeah, you can't really post links. Only I can, but yeah, it's just it's not easy. Um, yeah, it's not easy. It's officially known as Warsaw Choplin, but it's also nicknamed Okishi as well. It used to be known as Warsaw Okishi Airport, named after the neighborhood, but it was renamed in 2001 after Polish composer Frederick Chopin. That's what it was. So, oh, what's that little screen above your analog altitude? Oh, this little screen to my right. Um, what's your little screen above your analog? Oh, the little screen by altitude. Well, that little screen is actually it's actually a little adjustment thing. It's like here it's like some sort of mini stuff on the um. It's actually something with the little screen thing. It it must be it's an alternative attitude header. I think that's what it is. It's like a little alternative thing. With it as well. So that's what it is. Now, of course, right around this area here, if you look to our left, this here is Lake Maracaibo. Um, is Lake Maracaibo's to our left. Now, what's so interesting about Lake Maracaibo, you may ask? Well, Lake Maracaibo, um, Lake Maracaibo is really unique. It is this brackish lake. It's considered to be a lake, but it's actually not due to geological stuff. It's actually the largest lake in all of South America. It's South America's largest lake and one of the oldest on Earth, having formed speedily around 36 million years ago. It's connected to the Gulf of Venezuela through the narrow spit. Eutrophication by oil pollution is a major environmental problem around the lagoon, but one of the most unique events can actually be it's a phenomenon called the Catatumbo lightning, which occurs in this lake apparently. Um, People have lived around the banks for thousands of years, even before the Europeans came. It was also where Venezuela won its independence in 1823 during the Battle of Lake Maracaibo, but it's officially known as Oil Lake. In terms of nature wildlife, it's a biologically diverse area with clams, blue crabs, shrimps, and other stuff. It's also home to two endangered animals, the West Indian manatee and the Amazon river dolphin, live in this area as well. But it is contaminated by a lot of oil and pollution stuff due to all the development. But the Catatumbo lightning actually is actually around this lake. Apparently, the cause of this phenomenon, the Catatumbo lightning, which basically means it occurs for 140 to 160 nights a year, 9 hours a day with lightning, flash between 40 to 16 to 40 minutes times per minute of lightning, apparently the cause is around the atmosphere of around the area. And that's due to the different atmospheric conditions that causes lightning to be insanely common around this area. Thankfully today it's not, we're in the daytime, so lightning isn't a cause of concern, thankfully. Hey, good to see you. Nice. I'm having a good flight. Oh, nice. You're flying with Kaharia's group into Colombia. Cool. We're about to head to Maracaibo, Venezuela, actually. Okay. We're just talking about Lake Maracaibo and all that, and talk about the unique Catatumbo Calatumbo lightning phenomenon that occurs in this lake. In terms of landmarks, there are a couple of few. There is the General Raphael Bridge, which is around 8.5 kilometers and offers breathtaking views of Lake Maracaibo. You have the Historic Center, which you find the Basilica di Nuestra Senora di Chiquinacura, a sacred place for locals, and the Botanical Garden, home to a diversity of plant species, both native and exotic plants. And finally, the airport is La Chinita International Airport. It is the main airport of Maracaibo, Venezuela. It's the second most important airport in terms of passenger aircraft movement after Caracas Airport. Featuring flights and destinations to Caracas, Colomar, Panama City, Santo Domingo, and Valencia. And yeah, I meant Valencia, Venezuela, not Valencia, Spain. And this airport was opened back on November 16, 1969, during the presidential administration of Rafael Caldera. So that is slide 6. So here is Maracaibo in the square. But yeah, we're taking the BBJ today. Actually, the Boeing Business Jet. I picked that today since be a little smaller, be a little more fitting for an airport like this. Yeah, it's a big city. Maracaibo is. Yeah, beautiful flight today. We got to see Caracas 12. Definitely very cool. Very, very cool. And there's our airport today. There's where we're going to be landing here today at Maracaibo. There's our airport. For the rest of the notes, guys, we will be going over the rest of the notes starting on Friday. We'll cover the transportation. Next Friday's notes are going to cover transportation, the flag carrier of Venezuela, on Conviasa, which is Venezuela's flag carrier. We'll be talking about that as well. And we'll talk about Venezuela's culture as well. That's what we're going to be covering on Friday's stream. So we'll be back there as well as we prepare to make our flight over to Guyana. Absolutely. Yeah, I had to increase my speed because apparently we were over the thing of that, so I had to increase my speed a bit. Like I said, being a little faster approach, but I'm gonna go ahead and decrease the speed a little bit.
1,000.
I'm gonna go ahead and put the brakes. Okay, let's put plenty of space.
500. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
This should be it.
Sink rate. Sink rate. 20. 10.
Oh, a little rough. Not the best, but not my best landing, but yeah. Apparently, I was really high above my approach. It turns out that the approach thing was actually kind of high, so I had to adjust. At least I landed this thing safely, and the landing rate wasn't too high, so it could have been a lot worse, Tom. Um, yeah, I gotta really work on the approach. I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, thank you for letting me know about that. I gotta work on it though. I'm usually good at these approaches. Yes, maybe not today wasn't my a day, but at least I landed safely. It could have been a lot worse. Gotta take it with that for sure. So guys, we officially made it all the way to Venezuela today, guys. So we will be returning back to this airport on Friday for our around the world trip. We'll be flying to Caracas, via Barranquilla and Valencia. So there should be a really nice flight as well. But at least we're finally into a new continent today in South America. Gonna park around. Gonna park around right here. So guys, this wraps up today's around the world trip. Day 15 has finally been done. Guys, a massive thank you for everyone here. Can't believe we're already now in South America. So guys, thank you so much. So we will be back on Wednesday. We'll be back Wednesday for our so we'll be back on Wednesday at Dubai International as we prepare to go to beautiful and scenic Tehran. So we'll go ahead and raid Kaharia's channel. Guys, stick around for the raid as we raid the lovely Kaharia. So take care, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of your Sunday.